الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتيم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك. اللهم في هذا اليوم المبارك فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة، فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي اليمن. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. صلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وآله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين آمين يا رب العالمين. So we are starting from here. It actually done this, but we'll just go over it again. The truth is that the organic causation of our mental state has nothing to do with the criteria by which we judge them to be superior or inferior in point of value. So there's a distinction between the I guess genealogical history of something or judgment and its value or its truth. So there are two different things. And the basic point is that the way I acquire the content of a judgment, for example, is a separate question from the truth of that judgment. And although we can never say that the two questions are wholly unrelated or entirely unrelated, many philosophers and logicians believe that the two questions are separate questions. And the causal history of a judgment has no direct bearing on the truth of a judgment, truth of the content, or truth of a judgment should be determined irrespective of its causal history. Among the vision and messages, says Professor William James, this is the famous William James, the brother of Henry James. So William James is basically the founder of modern psychology. And also he is a famous philosopher, pragmatist, who was influenced by Peirce and others. Influenced by Hegel as well, actually. And sort of popularized Peirce's philosophy, but distorted it as well, people say. Among the visions and messages, says Professor William James, some have always been too patently silly. Among the trances and convulsive seizures, some have been too fruitless for conduct and character to pass themselves off as significant, still less as divine. In the history of the Christian mysticism, the problem how to discriminate between such messages and experiences were really divine miracles and such other as the demons in his malice were able to counterfeit, thus making the religious person twofold, more the child of hell he was before, has always been a difficult one to solve. How to differentiate between the question of how to differentiate between what is from God and what is from demon or devil has been always a difficult problem to solve, according to James. Needing all the sagacity and experience of the best directors of the conscience. In the end, it has come to our empiricist criterion, or pragmatist, I guess. By their fruits ye shall know them, nor by their roots. So consequences are important for William James, but the question still is, the question is, you want to differentiate between experiences which you can't verify against publicly observable reality. So those experiences, how are you going to differentiate between what is true and what is false, or what is from divine and what is from devil? William James' criterion is consequences determine what is true. Good consequences, that is from God. Bad consequences. But this creates a lot of problem. Firstly, how you determine what is good consequence from what is bad consequence. But some things are obvious, but there are things which are not as clear cut, for example. And the second thing is, it is imaginable that what is from God could have bad consequences, and what could have been from devil have some good consequences, depending on your understanding of that. Yeah. The problem of Christian Christian mysticism, alluded to by Professor James, had been in fact the problem of all mysticism. The demon in his malice does counterfeit experiences which creep into the circuit of the mystic state, as we read in the Qur'an. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Creep into the circuit of mystic state, as we read in the Quran. We have not sent any apostle or prophet before thee, among whose desires had Shaitan injected not some wrong desire. But God shall bring to naught that which Shaitan has suggested. Thus shall God affirm his revelations, for God is knowing and wise. Suratul Hajj, Ayat 52. The ayah actually read, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وما أرسلنا من قبلك من رسول ولا نبي إلا إذا تمنى ألقى الشيطان في أمنيته فينسخ الله ما يلقي الشيطان ثم يحكم الله آياته والله عليم حكيم. The translation here, among whose desires shaitan injected or something. This is translation of إلا إذا تمنى ألقى الشيطان في أمنيته. Now what do our tafsir says? So Al-Jalalain says وما بعثنا من قبلك أيها الرسول من رسول ولا نبي إلا إذا قرأ كتاب الله. So tamanna mean when he read the book of Allah. So it's not among whose desires Satan injected. إذا قرأ, when he reads Qur'an. That's what Suyuti is saying. إلا إذا قرأ كتاب الله ألقى الشيطان في قراءته. وما يلبس به على الناس أنه من الوحي ويبطل الله ما يلقي الشيطان من إلقائه ويثبت آياته والله عليم بكل شيء عليم. لا يخفى عليه شيء حكيم في خلقه وتقديره وتبديره. So when the revelation was coming and the Prophet was reading it sometime, it so happened that Shaitan would interfere and try to put something which is not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that recitation, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always cancels or obliterates what Shaitan tried to put, and he preserve his revelation as pure revelation without any traces of Shaitan's intervention. That's what this ayah is saying. So what Allama Iqbal is saying is that devils into this problem exists in Islamic mystic experiences as well. The problem exists in Islamic mystic experience as well, and of course Qur'an. But the problem with this quotation is that Quran is not a mystic experience. It is a revelation preserved by the will of God. So that's a wrong analogy. The second thing is the Sufi experience in Islam doesn't have that problem, because when a Sufi is in the experience of other world, Alimul Ghaib, which is an essential experience, he has an objective criterion there to judge and differentiate between what is from Allah and what is from Shaitan. We don't deny that Shaitan actually intervened in Sufi experience. Shaitan as well as Sufi's own nafs. But Sufi has the Quran, which is an objective criterion to judge his experience. So Sufi can judge his experience and must judge his experience with reference to the Quran, which is an objective criterion for Quran. And it is muhaymin in this very sense that all experiences must submit to it, so that we can differentiate what is from God and what is from devil and what is from our own nafs. So this is a wrong analogy from this ayah. And that's the persistent problem in this chapter, is confusing or ignoring the difference between mysticism and Sufism on the one hand, and more tellingly, the difference between Sufism or mystic experience and revelation. So we have not sent any apostle or prophet before thee, among whose desires Satan injected not some wrong desire. Whose desires? So whose desire? Illa idha tamanna. So the tafsir, what tafsir is saying is, before idha tamanna idha qara, when he reads, not desires. So translation is incorrect as well. And even if we do take this translation, what it is saying is the same thing, that Shaitan doesn't have any power to intervene in the revelation. And if he does intervene, God ensures that intervention is null. So, for example, Abdul Halim's recent translation is, we have never sent any messenger or prophet before you, Muhammad, into whose wishes Shaitan did not insinuate something. But God removes what Shaitan insinuates, and then God affirms his message. God is all-knowing, all-wise. Mufti Taqi Usmani's translation is, what we did not send any messenger before you, nor prophet, but he faced a situation that when he recited the revelation, the Shaitan cast doubt in the hearts of his opponents about what he recited. So it wasn't in the heart of the prophet or in his. So Allah nullifies what the Shaitan cast or Satan casts. Then Allah makes his verses firm, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Maududi's translation is, never did we send a messenger or a prophet before you, O Muhammad, but that whenever he had a desire, Satan interfered with that desire. Allah eradicates the interference of Shaitan and strengthens his signs. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Pethal's translation is, never sent we a messenger or a prophet before thee, but when he recited the message, Satan proposed opposition in respect of that which he recited thereof. But Allah abolisheth that which Satan proposeth. Then Allah establisheth his revelations. Allah is knower, wise. So in all that. So basically, this is clear. Now he goes on to say, it is in the elimination of the satanic from the divine that the followers of Freud have done inestimable service to our religion. Okay, we'll stop here and deal with Freud in the next session, inshallah.